Hi guys, I'm Dominick Guglielmo. I'm the offensive line coach here at Keystone College in Plume, Pennsylvania. I'm going to kick off today we're going to talk about our everyday inside zone drills. It's a big emphasis of our practice. It's actually what we start with during our daily dozen, which is our indie period. So first thing, we'll start out with stance. Stance with me, listening to a bunch of other coaches talk, and stance is like a holster. And whether you're an inside the waist, outside the waistband type guy, stance, you can have your principles within each kid's stance, but each kid's stance can't be the same. So the coaching points for me, I want your feet in a nice stagger. I know tackles are going to have more of a stagger, guards have less, centers are naturally. Your knees inside your feet. I need a big chest. We are a 2-point stance team for the most part. So I always say touch your forearms on your thigh boards. Keep your hands together and relax, kind of like pinching paper. So you should be able to hold a piece of paper in between the contact points. Eyes up, able to scan the defense, ID, blitzes, and stunts movements, pre-snap. And if you do need to get into a 3-point stance, which is fine. I mean, some guys come in, they have a really good 3-point stance. They can do everything out of it. We're just going to ask them to drop their hand down, pick up the eyeball that just fell out, maintaining, again, the weight inside the feet, the big chest, using that offhand relax, because staying relaxed during the whole thing is very important. Zone steps for us, I know they're kind of scrambled from the McNally type zone steps. Brace pop is if that guy's right in front of you. We're going to take a brace step, which is bringing that first foot, play side foot, at a winning angle in a winning direction, and then bringing the second foot as a pop step. That's for the guy that's kind of like within the framework of your body. You're not taking that brace step at a crazy angle. It's more of a forward step or an out step, and then readjust with the pop step. Jab is if that guy is outside your framework and you need to get on a new track to go get him. So we're going to take the jab step at a winning angle and bring the pop step to close the gate, insert hook and drive. Angle step is our outside zone, outside run step. We're going to really push off our outside foot, take our inside foot. We don't want to hop. We want to keep our shoulders square. And the pop step will bring through and allow us to make contact with the defender. We are a hook blocking team. We want to have our hands inside, our elbows inside, where it's almost like we're holding a goblet in our hands. Our elbows are pinched to our rib cage, and we're going to use our hips conjoined with our hands and arms as levers and drive up and out. We want to displace that guy's momentum up and out, the defender's momentum up and out. We also have a policy of the re-dip. So once you start lifting, you're naturally going to raise your pad level. We want you to take a second, settle, reroute your feet, and then it'll give you more leverage to continue the drive. Now, first drill. This is the first thing we start out with is hook fire. Now, our hook fire drill is really to work on our hand and our hip unity. All right? So all we're going to do is stay in a nice rooted stance as if we took a brace pop. And on the whistle, we're going to insert our hooks onto the med ball while bringing our hips and keeping our head out of the business. And when I say head out of the business, we want to keep our head out of the block. We don't need to look at the guy that we're blocking while we're blocking, especially if we're in a double team. So I want to get that habit early. Getting your head out of the ball, getting your head out of the business, hands together, and get a nice lift going. And we're not moving. We're just inserting the hook, holding it, and letting it go. We're going to go 5 rapid and 5 power, just to wake it up. Now we're going to go into a hook fit. So everybody's going to get into a nice hook fit. Their hands are going to be cupping the bottom of the med ball. Face is going to be in the med ball. Elbows within your shoulders. or elbows within your rib cage. A nice starting stance with the feet rooted, and we're basically just going to drive that med ball and the guy who's holding it right off the board. So we're just going to drive our feet, keeping a nice duck demeanor, knees inside your feet. Drive, drive, drive. On the whistle, we're going to refit our hips, re-dip our hips, and again, finish through the drive, and at the end, throw the med ball away. Now that we've already worked on the stance, the hook, and the hook fit drive, now we're putting it all together with our steps. So brace pop, we're going to angle the guy to the right. We're going to move the offensive lineman to the left to then block to the right. We want to see him gain ground with this step. Gain ground with this step and bring the second step aggressively. Smother the defender. And again, insert our hooks and keep driving. Big thing with me, I want to see the hands and hips coming together. We want their feet rooted on contact. We really want those hands really aiming inside. I don't want to see your hands ever in the block progression from standing behind. If we're filming from behind and I see your hands, you're automatically doing it wrong. And I want to keep that pad level nice and low. We're going to do a second level step here. Again, we want to work both in every step that we do, first and second level, because in a zone-based offense, we know sometimes we're going to be uncovered. We're going to have to get to the second level right now. So nothing changes from first to second level, except you're not making contact till you're at the end of the board. You're keeping your hands nice and active, nice and moving. You're staying low, knees inside the framework of your body, big chest, eyes up, rooting your feet on contact, lift, drive, re-dip, finish. Jab pop. Same thing. We're going to take that jab step. We're going to, at a winning angle, so sometimes I actually move each kid's board. Sometimes I'll change the angle so they're not used to taking the same 45-degree angle every step. Keep that feet rooted on contact. And again, I just want to see them get on a new track and drive the defender out with a re-dip at the end of the board. This one's huge because our rule is we're going to take a jab step if we're uncovered. This is the one that we've spent a lot of time on. Sometimes I'll even move the guys off the board and shift them a little. So once they get to the end of the board, they have to reroute their feet at a different angle and make contact. So it's never it's the same drill, same emphasis every time we do it. It's just different in the fact that I want them to be in a routine of taking the steps, but I don't want them saying, well, I can't take a jab pop step at this angle. Yes, you can. It's less of the angle of the board and more of the winning angle of the play. So here, we've got our guys doing the brace pop footwork. If you look at who's currently playing right tackle, I'd like to see him gain a little bit more ground and keep his hands inside the entire progression, but he does a nice job keeping his head out of the business and really driving that med ball up. Now, his partner's not helping him out because he should be sitting down a little bit more to make it a little bit more realistic, but the tackle here does a nice job driving right off the board and getting out. Now, this is during camp. I didn't really teach the re-dip until we got the first part down, but he does a nice job here with that. Now going the other way, I really like how our player here does a nice job keeping his hands inside. When he makes contact with the ball, again, I don't want to see that wind up. It opens up your chest for the defender, but he does a nice job here on his first step, gaining ground, which enables him to take a second step that's really nice and drive him off. Again, he's high. I really wish that his practice partner here was a better practice partner and sunk his hips a little to get that ball lower to force him to stay lower, but he does a nice job. I'm really happy with it. Now we've moved to the jab. Our right tackle here ended up starting right tackle for us course every game this fall. Freshman out of New Jersey does a really nice job here of gaining ground on that first step, bringing the second step, and then basically driving his partner right off his feet. That's what I like to see. Rolls his hips. Again, we really got to work on the practice partners being better practice partners here, and sinking their hips. And this is, if we look at our right tackle here, this is one thing this is an awesome teaching moment for our guys. If we see where his hands are on the med ball, he's grabbing the sides of the med ball. He gets really no lift. If he kept his hands within framework of his body the entire time, does decent job with his steps, decent pad level. But if he really got in there with his hands underneath the med ball and lifted throughout the block progression, he could probably put Anthony in the dirt. He does a really nice job. He's got those long arms, long levers. He's just not using the levers to the greatest of his ability right now. Second level, very important again for many teams. Our right tackle here does a nice job of keeping his hands active, moving. I don't like that his hands are in like a fist motion, but he does a nice job keeping a good pad level throughout the thing. He rushes in his contact at the second level, and that kind of knocks him off balance. But other than that, his progression up there, I thought was very nice. Now, outside zone drill or angle pop step, multiple progressions with this also. So we want to get this guy moving. I don't think that going against a stationary target is good in the initial teaching phase, but once we get past the initial teaching phase, that guy's going to be booking it once he recognizes an outside run, especially if he has contained. So we want to get them moving right away. We want to keep that same hook demeanor, take that outside hand, plant it on his outside shoulder, and bring that second hand into either his hip or shoulder pad and drive him up the field. We're not trying to lose ground. That's why the board in the image is there. I don't want them losing ground on this step. Lateral movement only. And then next, second level, huge. We want him to take that nice angle pop step, make sure nothing's coming at the first level, and then get on a good angle to cut off that linebacker, whether we scheme that we're going to cut him, whether we scheme that we're going to block him, throw him out of the club or try to steal him in, depending on the linebacker and depending on the guy whose assignment is to block him. All those things can be manipulated within the drill. Now, having the combo part of the stretch drill is huge for us. Now, because we know that we're always going to, if we try to overtake that DN and hand him off to the guard so the tackle can get up to that linebacker, or if there's a stunt going on or whatever's happening there, we need to be able to sort that out while taking our angle pop step. It's important that those two guys are able to communicate, so that's why I'll actually use tackle guard center, and even we'll get the tight ends involved in this also. So they start building that chemistry and communication and being able to really see by the defender's hip movement, by how the defender's aligned, that they're either going to be able to hand them off, throw them out the club, whether the guard's going to have to go to the second level or is he going to take over the down lineman. Basically, any of those different combinations is what we're striving to get towards in this drill. Now, I like to wake up the physicality with screws to screws. I noticed we didn't start implementing this till mid-season. I noticed our guys were getting really complacent in Indy. And very complacent in Indy brings the complacency to group and to the team and then to games. And our physicality wasn't really where I wanted it to be. So I instituted screws to screws. Basically, we have both guys in a rooted stance with their face mask touching each other. All right, so it's not that old board drill where you start at the end and then you run at each other and try to move. I just want them to be able to move this guy off the board. Now, their hands are going to start in the same area they're going to start in their stance. And basically, it's who can fire their hands the quickest, bring their hips, and keep those feet active through the drive progression. And really, who can re-dip their feet or re-dip their hips later in the drill. Doing this shot our physicality up like crazy. It brought a little competition before the group and team periods. And later in the year, we actually started getting the defensive line involved, which kind of brought that whole rivalry thing to it. So Coach Kolb, our defensive line coach, who does a really nice job, him and I would like pick guys to go against each other, and the guys would get around and jump up and down. It kind of brought that trench unity together, which was really a blast, and it brought both sides of the line's physicality up from there. So after we do that, we're always going to go into a double team period. Our zone double teams, our gap double teams are a little different, but the steps are pretty the same. We want to get that nice hook fit where a more of a gallop style double team. I don't use hip to hip. I use 2 out of 3. Because if you get hip to hip, your body is going to end up looking like a snowplow, right? We want you, and as you know, with the snow plows, the one with the point in the front, the snow is going to fall off either side. And in my mind, that defender is going to fall off either side, and that's not what we want. We want to drive him off the ball, keeping our shoulders square to that linebacker. So I go elbow to elbow, knee to knee, and hip to hip. Get 2 out of 3. Most of the time, we're going to get knee to knee and elbow to elbow. And that is perfect for me. That is 2 points of contact that defensive lineman is now going to have to break while our shoulders are square, driving him off the ball. And with square shoulders, then we can see the linebacker better. It gets that other hand out of the double team because you got a more powerful fit in initially. It really worked well for us this year in our zone doubles. And I think it was probably one of the better changes I made going into the fall. Now, we'll hit, depending on who we're playing, what we're seeing front and linebacker-wise will be the combinations that we put a big emphasis on during practice. So if we're going to have a lot of tackle guard combos, we'll do a lot of tags. If we're going to have the 3-man combos, we'll have a lot of triples. If we're going to have a lot of tays, sigs. So there, I'll scheme it on Sunday and align the guys with the movements and the pressures that fit the team that we're playing that week. It's still the basics of 2-man combos. It's just we want to be able to make it more game-like. Practice at a high. If we're going to scheme a game, we're going to scheme practice also. So we've got tag, sig, center and guard. That's one that's pretty much live every week. Based on a variety of alignments. The ones that show in the image here, where we've got a true nose or a 3-tech. If we got the nose, we're going to get a nice double team. If we got the 3-tech, the guard can take his jab pop step for the 3-tech. The center can hummer, which is our heavy hand help, and then move up to the linebacker. The reason we heavy hand help here instead of just going is because if that tackle slants in, if the center already has a hook ready to fire, then it's easier for him to take it over while the guard moves up to the back. Triple. I know a lot of coaches have different philosophies on. They want to stay away from 3-man combos. I like them only for the fact that if we are 3 for 3, we know we're 3 for 3. Now, if I tell a kid the tackle is man on the D end, depending on where that DN goes, he's going to have it in his mind that he's man on him, which could take him out of his zone mentally. Now, the reason we do a 3-man combo is because of this, and this. All of the defenders are trading gaps now. Without the movement, the tackle will theoretically take the DN, the guard will take the D tackle, and the center will hammer the D tackle up to the linebacker. But if we have movement within the combination, the tackle can pass him off to the guard. The guard can pass him off to the center, so the center will be responsible for this gap because the tackle's now going into his gap. The guard will then take the DN because the DN is going in his gap or zone, and the tackle, whose zone is really the C gap, will take that linebacker that's coming over the top. My worry with having the tackle and the DN and then running a SIG on the same side is that the tackle will take that DN with him and will bog down the combination of the SIG. So if we have them all three working together, we can draw all three working them together, and it turns out to be kind of a nice and kind of flawless movement. Tay's huge for us. We like our tight end, whether he's in a wing, whether his hand's in the dirt, front side and back side, actually, it's really nice. We changed a little bit of our combinations going into this fall with it. When the tight end's attached, you get that tight end more actively involved. Not a true realistic picture by myself here, but we want the tight end really working with the tackles and combination and combo work. That tight end, which I refer to as the stepbrother of the O-line, like, he needs to be actively involved in these board drills every day. And he'll spend a lot of the run game Indy with us. Because of that, he needs to know our calls. He needs to know who we're IDing. He needs to know where the ball's going. He needs to know stunts, blitzes, defenders, crossovers, everything. He needs to know where he fits into the run scheme, because if we need to lock down that DN before we move out to that alley defender, his job is key for us to locking down that end. Now, our combinations are the same combinations for inside zone and outside zone. So he only has to learn, or all the guys on the line only have to learn one set of combinations. And it's a tag, a front side and back side. It's a SIG front side and back side, because if you're communicating it, you already know if it's front side or back side. I want to keep it nice and simple for the guys, not a ton of thinking involved. And they've done a really nice job and take a lot of pride in IDing things through. Thank you, guys. If you need anything from me, my email is on the bottom of the screen, Dominick.Guglielmo, Keystone.edu. My Twitter is @Coach_Guglielmo. If you want the presentation or need anything like that, feel free to just reach out. And thank you all for listening, and I hope you guys are enjoying your quarantine right now. Stay safe, guys.